From funeral botany to nature-based solutions. The Arboretum of Remembrance Garden of Málaga, Andalusia, Spain. Mediterranean cultures, from their origin, present common factors in funeral rites. Give back to the earth what had its origin on the earth. You are dust, and to dust you will return. Genesis 3:19. The aspiration of heaven as the destination of the soul of the deceased, and the desire for sweet eternal sleep for loved ones. Burials have been configured in different Mediterranean civilizations based on these three factors. In the first place, allocating lands that have always enjoyed the utmost respect as the city of the dead, from the first necropolises to the Christian cemeteries or the Muslim Maccabee. Second, burials were always linked to the sky, in some cases directing the body towards the sunrise, and in others employing monuments and vegetal elements in the form of pinnacles pointing skyward. This is how it's possible to understand, for example, the strong use of the cypress, Cupressus sempervirens, in these spaces. Finally, the desire for the deceased to have a sweet eternal sleep forces the basic unwritten rules inside the necropolis to be silence and reflection. Thus arises one of the first botanical symbols that have preside over the burial areas, the fruit of the poppy, Papaver somniferum. Plants have played an important role in Mediterranean funeral rites and have been especially used to set a memorial scene. It is striking that almost all the species used, whether cultivated or sculpted in mausoleums and tombstones, refer to elaborate symbolism. A magnificent example is found in the historic cemetery of San Miguel in Málaga. This monumental space was erected in the middle of the 19th century under the new concept of cemetery park at the initiative of a growing bourgeois class. Although it was originally located on the outskirts of the city, today it is located in the Málaga Historic Center. It has been seen in many Mediterranean cities, where urban expansions has led to the incorporation of cemeteries with a new perspective that views these facilities as part of the urban green infrastructure. The architectural, sculptural, and botanical diversity of the historic cemetery of San Miguel is extraordinary. The plant elements symbolized in the cemetery are especially abundant, including, in addition to the obligatory cypress, which dominates and identifies the character of the landscape, it is worth highlighting that the fruits of these trees are often carved on marble tombstones. The morphology of the cones suggests the shape of a skull, representing the ephemerality of the flesh and, by contrast, the eternity of the soul. In some cases, it can be observed how palm branches, Phoenix dactylifera, appear next to the cypress, symbolizing the victory of eternal life. Other species with a strong symbolic presence are the violet, Viola tricolor, that in its similarity to a human face evokes the memory of those who left, the lily, Lilium candidum, a symbol of purity, the grape, Vitis vinifera, the wheat, Triticum aestivum, and the olive, Olea europaea, a Mediterranean triology praised in the religious ceremonies of all the cultures that emerge from the Mediterranean shores. The sunflower, Elianthus anus, that with its intense yellow color reminds of the splendid sun, is sought after and admired. Acanthus, Acanthus molly, an emblem of enduring life and immortality. The laurel, Laurus nobilis, is a symbol of the victory of the freedom of the soul. Finally, it is worth mentioning a statue dedicated to the goddess Angeronia. the Roman god of alleviating fear and anguish, as well as remembering the importance of silence. Here, unlike what is seen elsewhere, the statue carries on its mantle a bouquet of the aforementioned species. The historic cemetery of San Miguel is known today as an extraordinary open-air museum, where funerary botany has enormous cultural, ecological, and environmental education value. Innovation in the Garden of Remembrance. When population growth led to the city having to have a new necropolis in the 80s, the San Gabriel Cemetery was developed on the lands of the new expansion. A strong cultural change in society has led to a shift from burials to cremation in a few years, which at the moment in Malaga represent 80%, one of the highest in Spain. The ashes were spread in the sea or random places until it was observed that the environmental impact generated made it necessary to regulate their final destination. This is how Parce Massa came up with the idea of a space within the cemetery park, 50 hectares, destined to depositing urns with ashes, the Garden of Remembrance. The project, developed on 4 hectares, links the ashes and with it the soul of the deceased to trees of different species, creating an environmental feeling of respect on the part of the families, as well as a reinforcement of cultural importance of the trees. The Garden of Remembrance was planned under the new concepts of green infraestructure and nature-based solutions. The purpose is converting the garden into the Malaga Park of the 21st century, a green land capable of sequestering a good part of the greenhouse gases emitted by the city's activity, provide the metropolitan area of Malaga with important ecosystem services whose monetary value at this time already exceeds maintenance costs, a protective area for biodiversity, and a great space for environmental education for students of all ages and the increased environmental awareness of the public as a whole. But what is meant by green infrastructure? It is a network of strategically planned and managed natural areas, such as forests and wetlands, and other open spaces that conserve or enhance the values and functions of ecosystems and provide associated benefits to human populations. The Garden of Remembrance, being a territory managed and strategically planned to improve the values and functions of ecosystems to provide benefits to the human population, is configured as an important node of the European green infrastructure. What is the basis of your strategic planning? Strategic planning in the Garden of Remembrance is based on the development of nature-based solutions. But what are NBS? They are solutions that are inspired and supported by nature, that are cost-effective, simultaneously provide environmental, social, and economic benefits, and help build resilience. Nature-based solutions, NBS, refer to the sustainable management and use of nature to address today's socio-environmental challenges: climate change, water safety, water pollution, food security, human health, loss of biodiversity, disaster risk management. These 7 challenges coincide to a large degree with the strategic goals of the Garden of Remembrance. Arboretum is the heart of the garden with more than 250 specimens of 30 different species. And among the most outstanding actions in terms of NBS, it is worth highlighting. First, soil recovery. Second, collection and phytoremediation of water. Third, slope treatment. 4, revaluation of waste. 5th, herbaceous planting that align with pollinator mobility. And 6, creation of island of biodiversity through nucleation techniques.